Hey, welcome to the Tim and Gugabe podcast. Tim Gugabe, how you doing?
Yeah, ticking along. How are you?
Not bad. Kind of watching the Tottenham game right now. I probably would. I was just telling you about that, but let's talk. What was the last card? Oh, Topuria Holloway. Topuria is definitely like getting a following where like they think he was 100% in that fight. He's a very good fighter. I think he's a rightful favorite going forward, like because he has that power, which is an X factor for sure. But
I suppose he carried it so long as well. Like, he still had the pop round 3. But Holloway was like live favourite. I mean, it's a weird spot because Holloway was live favourite end of round 2.
Yeah.
But also it turned out Topuria was up 2 cards. It was up 2-0 on 2 cards, which was kind of interesting.
Yeah. If you I rewatched. So live, I basically thought Holloway won, but I thought maybe they would get tricked by that knockdown, and it wasn't a knockdown.
Yeah.
And if you look at the numbers, he outlanded him by like 11 strikes. He also landed like better strikes in round 1 than Topuria. Topuria landed a couple takedowns, but did nothing with them. I thought it was a very competitive round, and I leaned to Max live, and then when I rewatched it, I gave it to Max. Second round, I leaned Topuria live. I thought he landed a little better shots, and then when I rewatched it, I think I gave it to Topuria as well. But I think so I had it 1-1. I think Max had a better case for 2 than Topuria had for 1. But they were very competitive rounds, and I had Chimaev and Murphy. They both hit. I was biggest on Chimaev, and then I had not Topuria inside the distance, so that missed. But also, like, it's funny he got knocked out, but even like round 3, I was like, I'm sitting pretty good here, like because he was getting hit and stuff. But I will say that right hand missed the mark a few times. Like Topuria was close with it quite a few times. But I also like kind of was like, Max is all right here. Like I thought it was just going to be like a split decision war as I was watching it. Like in the third round, I'm like, it's probably going to cards and it's going to be really close. But that's basically how I would favor Topuria going forward because he always has that knockout factor and he can compete better in the rounds than and I kind of expected him to compete well in the rounds, but that's what I would say. But I also don't think he was easy money either. And people who are like it, I think are just being a little unrealistic, but he is a very good fighter.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. He's definitely, he hits incredibly hard. He's very potent. His defense is not great, but probably the main concern I'd have with him.
That's my main concern with him too. Like he gets hit a lot, and he's very, very good offensively, and he's got truly elite power, especially in that class. But he gets hit a lot, and we've seen it in several fights, and so I think if he got his defense together, he'd be even better.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I don't know. I think that's one of these things where the thing he does well just makes it hard for him to be 100% defensively sound because he has to go forward and he's is what it is kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's good performance. Yeah, I think Topuria minus 150, minus 200 was fine on power and Holloway looking a bit old, but I wouldn't go. Anybody acting like he's minus 10 billion is just stupid. Again, honestly, we're watching now. I still don't regret Josh Emmett's shot because, all right, the guy hits very hard, but he has no defense. And if you walk straight onto Josh Emmett for 5 rounds, it is hard to cover minus 500. Josh Emmett also hits very hard. Chimaev was Chimaev was a good performance. I thought it was kind of weird. I felt like Whittaker was doing an okay job of keeping him off for the first, sub 1. I was like, Chimaev might be not fucked, but I was just like, Whittaker's doing okay, keeping him getting anything really meaningful. How long can Chimaev keep doing this? And then he just finally gets it back and it's done. All right, fair enough.
I think we mentioned the sub 1 plus 800 was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It's Whittaker goes to all 4s, and he did it right away. It was we knew takedowns were going to come. He's going to go to all 4s. So rear naked choke darces are there. Whittaker, honestly, I thought did a pretty good job for the first few minutes. And the thing is even when I'm on a bet, I'm not going to be easy money. I think I tweeted easy money in the moment because I'm public. But at the same time, I was relieved when he got the finish because I was he's using a lot of energy. You don't know how this is going to go. I'm not going to
I think that
I was big on Chimaev. I'm not going to act like he can't lose that fight.
Yeah.
You never know,
Yeah, like, I'm not going to act like, Chimaev sub 1 is always the best way to play him, just, because of how he is as a fighter. But, like, again, like, Whittaker was doing okay, in my opinion. Like, again, like, 20 seconds before the final grappling exchange, we got the back, I was like, oh, shit, is, like, Chimaev about to be in trouble? Like, not that, like, Whittaker was, like, shucking him off or anything, but Whittaker seemed to be defending himself quite well, and I was just kind of like...
He kept his elbows in and the hooks weren't
in.
So he did a good job there. He wasn't giving up.
I was pivoting off a fair bit and just kind of he was surviving okay. I mean, obviously he fucked up once and that was it. But like, it wasn't like Leach or something where it was just, he got, remember Leach just got molested?
Oh, yeah.
Good performance.
Yeah, I was on Chimaev there and I kind of thought it was going to go about like that. I mean, I was expecting a round 1 finish. But there are versions of the fight where Whittaker survives. Like in my opinion.
Mark Chimaev like round 1 sub 1 because I was just like, anytime I can get Chimaev minus 300 and round 1 is plus 350, like one of those numbers is incorrect. Whichever way. Ankaliev Rebecky was a bit annoying. Like I had Rebecky like medium and it was just like, he lost, but like just do slightly more. Obviously I understand Ankaliev's hard to do things too, but him being minus 400 when he doesn't shoot is just like, he's just so low margin.
It's funny that I still thought Ankaliev was in like, he was in major control of rounds 2 and 3, but like one knockdown could have won.
Or one takedown. Like, there's so many things that can just swing that.
Yeah, Ankaliev is like a much better fighter. He's just an idiot,
Yeah, that was my point coming in. I was like, unless Ankaliev like proactively grapples, like how is he ever going to cover minus 400? Like it's like it's like Leon Edwards or Rose to me. It's just like the way they fight just means that they have one mild fuck up and like you've gone from winning 2-1 to losing a 2-1 split decision. Like, it's just the margins, like, fighting is just such where you can't really be minus 400 if you're fighting, if you're not going to put, like, a meaningful, like, I was striking, like, 3 strikes or something.
Yeah, I thought Ankaliev landed the much better head strike.
No, I'm not saying Rebecky got a lot wrong, but, like, you have, like, 55-53. That was not a minus 400 performance.
The head strikes were 2010, and like I feel like Ankaliev did land some good shots. But like Rakic didn't really land anything that I can remember, So I think that's kind of the effectiveness of the striking was on the side of Ankaliev.
The thing that surprised me is like Rakic won the round 1 unanimously, and didn't like the odds like didn't move at all. Like it was a close round because like Rakic was just hustling.
I thought it was. I was kind of surprised he got it all on all. But I thought. I'm not saying it was like wrong, but I thought it was like very competitive,
Yeah.
But yeah, I was on Murphy minus 200. It's weird. The fight played out close, but it was like,
right.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't like I even said when he was like minus 290, I was like I wouldn't play it anymore. But it's weird. Like the fight ended up playing up close, but I feel like outside of that knockdown that Ige had in round 1, like I feel like Murphy was a lot better.
I'm surprised Murphy's
played into Ige's hands to make the fight like pretty close. I thought the judges did a really good job in round 3 because that was a tight round, but it was also like Ige did nothing with the takedowns, and Murphy like got up and then kind of landed some good shots, and Ige landed 8 total strikes in round 3. So I think and I'm not just saying it. I was kind of worried. Like going in, I was like, I think I got it with Murphy, but I was still worried because there were some bad scorecards all day, but I thought they did a really like correct job because he landed the better shots,
I had Ige in the under small H, so again, it was a bit annoying round 1. I think I was like, I was like minus 1,000 at one point to win both bets, but what are you gonna do?
I'm not saying he should have stopped it, but I thought Mark Smith was like going to. He always gets
there was like it wasn't outrageous, but
like fidgety. He's like he's not common there. Like anytime
the bit where he turns his back and kind of goes to the fence, I think I think that would have been no case. I don't think it was like some egregious non-stoppage, but like there was enough there that like either he landed slightly better, or if the ref had jumped in, I don't think it would have been outrageous. I don't know. I'm surprised Murphy outlasted them cardio-wise. Like Murphy, like coming up, didn't seem to have great cardio, and like then he sort of had the Barboza fight where he suddenly showed it.
Yeah.
Like, all the way up, it was like this explosive guy. He never went over like 40, 50 strikes. And it's like him like outlasting Ige was the main thing that surprised me. Like Ige could have won round 3, but it was kind of like, it just felt fluky that he just ended up on top. Like Ige looked exhausted and then just randomly fell over. But also it surprised me. Yeah. Ige, historically good durability, good cardio. Murphy, historically less durability, less cardio, I'd say.
Yeah, it was a fight where I just felt like Ige landed that big shot in round 1, which gave him that round, obviously. But I feel like Murphy was kind of
before then. It was still, again, it was still a very competitive round, even without
good, and then I feel like Murphy was turning round 1, and then Ige landed the shot. That's how I saw it. But like, I mean, it was anyone's round until that point.
Yeah.
But I thought Murphy started to do better. But Ige started off good in the first minute, and then round 2 Murphy was better. Round 3 Murphy was way better, and I feel like like you said, Murphy went for a takedown in round 3 like an idiot and ended up on bottom. It was like, why did you do that? You had him petrified, and you were all over him.
It just surprised me the cardio dynamic. Again, that was probably the main thing that shocked me at that fight. Pre-fight, you told me round 3, I would expect it to be if you told me Murphy ran away with round 1 and then gassed him round 3, that would seem more logical of anything he's ever done. Ige usually takes a while to build up, and Murphy's Murphy seems good. It's just I just feel like he has a bunch of somewhat uneven performances early on, and now it's just he seems to have developed a lot, which is good for him. But
Magomedov, I ended up picking him to win. He just lands a little harder, a little better durability, and I think that's why I picked him, and that's kind of what happened. But it was still, he just kept hurting Petrosian.
Yeah, that was probably that was his best performance by a decent margin, I think. Again, I had Petrosian, and he was better than Petrosian. Yeah. The under was nice though, because it was it was plus 250 for this under 2.5, and it's these guys are high tempo middleweights. There's not going to be any grappling, and these guys are going to just go nuts on each other. At a certain point, it's just if it's going to be 200, if it's going to be 200 significant strikes, you got to be these middleweights. People do that.
Aslan, I didn't watch it. Neil, RDA looked kind of fucked until that point.
Yeah, he got knocked down legit immediately. Then the second knockdown, his knee exploded. But
he was. I think he was probably going to get finished in that fight, regardless. But you never know. We've seen crazier shit happen. But Orolbai, Rebecky. I expected a war, and we got a war.
That was fun. That should have been stopped. That was a word. That was a bad non-stoppage round for him, in my opinion.
Absolutely awful split decision too. I know Orolbai, had that good last 30 seconds of round 3, but he literally almost died.
Yeah, he pretty much died for a little bit there.
He took an absolute beating in round 3. The fact that a judge, I had no action on the fight. I basically said before I thought it was dog or pass, but I didn't have a strong opinion on who was going to win. I was like, whatever. But I had no stake on the fight. But Orolbai getting round 3 was crazy to me.
Yeah. I had Rebecky. I think hindsight, Orolbai small favorite was probably correct. I think each had the pace and the top time upside. I probably came out of that more impressed by Orolbai. And I feel we probably learned more and saw. Orolbai's kind of retarded, but the way he pushed the pace and just his durability and how he went to war, he actually impressed me a fair bit. I think he was minus 200 Ruma.
I'm glad you said that, because I thought Rebecky won that fight. And
he definitely won the fight.
I still think I wouldn't play. I still would say same line, play Rebecky.
Yeah.
But I would probably favor Orolbai in a rerun, because I feel that he hurt Rebecky, or he hurt Orolbai. Rebecky did in round 3, and that kind of turned it, But I felt the end of fight upside. I generally think Orolbai is going to be winning those later rounds, but it's also going to be a fucking war too. And I was expecting that. They're both just kind of meatheads.
Even round 1, if Orolbai's eye doesn't absolutely explode, I'm pretty that was a very competitive round 1 as well.
Yeah. But also minus 300 Orolbai, even in a rerun.
Oh yeah, I'm not arguing minus 300. I think he was minus 150, minus 200ish.
Yeah. Magomedov, I liked him going into that fight. Just with the grappling upside, he was inside. They could both bonk each other, shit could happen, but he's a much better grappler, and I think he justified his line because of that.
Yeah.
Kennedy, Burnett, we won't even talk about that. Basharat, Hugo. Hugo a bit, but it was kind of the fight I expected. I thought Hugo was gonna. going in, I kind of thought both guys were good. And I was like, I feel like Hugo's going to overperform here, but Basharat is just safe enough where he'll win, and that's kind of what happened.
It surprised me Farid didn't really grapple to around 3. Like, I had the under a little bit because I was just like, I thought it was like a bit more binary than it was. Again, like both guys just kind of have a finishing upside. Yeah, fun fight. Hugo's huge and awkward and just feels like one of those guys is just hard to beat. Like, again, rerun, I'd probably take Hugo plus 400 or 500. Like, that price was kind of dumb. Yeah, he's just like Farid has good process, but Hugo's just one of those guys who's just gonna do like random explosive shit and just like he can't just high roll for it. He can't just high roll stuff.
He's not a bad fighter. I think he's like clearly UFC level.
I think he's more like I don't think he's gonna put together like a championship run or something. He's like, I mean, Diego Lopez has managed it, but like he's just one of these guys who's just hard to beat because he just has so much like random shit in his arsenal. Like. I think Mickey Hugo could beat some very good guys, but he also could lose to some pretty mid guys.
For sure. Agreed. Nardiev, I mean, that fight was awful. Who cares? Fakardinov Leal, that was a... So I was awful. I was kind of watching it like live, and then I kind of I had to catch up on it like a few minutes after it ended. Yep. That was a really bad decision.
Yeah, that was horrible. I had nothing on it, and that was probably the worst of the year. Like that made like... But we not had maybe an argument for round 2, maybe. Yeah, and like, yeah, that was insane. Like, yeah, that's like boxing fix energy. Like that, there was no excuse for that.
The 30-27 for Fakardinov was crazy. Like, yeah.
I think that's like MMA. I just don't think you just don't tend to see cards like that. Most of the time MMA robberies are because somebody's like missing. Somebody's got a different interpretation of like rules, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
that was just like insane.
This was like they were both striking, and one guy was failing on takedowns miserably, so that was going for him too. And then they were both striking. Leal was just landing the better shots like throughout.
Yeah. There was I don't like you can put that in front of a boxing judge, put it in front of a Muay Thai judge. Like nobody's gonna give that round to Renat. Like I don't see.
Numerically, the numbers were closer than I expected. Like the significant strikes were like dead even, but Leal outlanded him in total strikes 146 to 119. So it wasn't like Fakardinov didn't get anything going, but also like Leal was defending all his takedowns, which I know like defense doesn't count, but he was also like landing good shots, like actual good shots. For Fakardinov, I feel like wasn't really doing like Leal was fine, like it was pretty bad.
Yeah, I agree. Like that was like one of the worst UFC decisions I could think of. Like, I feel like even like most of the time as a robbery, it's like some sort of recency thing, or there's like some sort of judge randomly decides takedowns are worth way more than striking, or vice versa kind of thing.
Yeah,
that was just like I do not see how you can watch that fight and say that to not want it. Like I had nothing on it. That was just bad.
I understand when you get like one idiot, like I remember like the worst like single scorecard ever was probably like that guy who gave Felder the fight against RDA, which was like literally maybe the worst single scorecard ever. Like, I think if it was like one single scorecard that gave Fakardinov the fight, I would still say the Felder RDA one was like the worst. But this was so bad because they actually gave Fakardinov the fight. Like RDA still won that fight, and it was like unanimous. And one judge just gave him all 3 rounds. I could not believe like my eyes. It was bad. But let's get into it's in Canada, right? This Moreno.
Yes, Edmonton.
Okay. Neither guy's Canadian. I mean, Albazi is not Canadian. Does he fight in Canada? Does he have any connection to Canada?
Mike Malott, the future, man. Who's Canada even got at this point? Like, I feel like Canada's just like, you scroll down, there's a bunch of Canadians on it, but like, who's the best Canadian? Lupe Godinez?
I think Jasmine is probably the best Canadian right now.
She's Canadian. Yeah, sure.
I think Jasmine. Who else? I'm looking at all of one of his card. I'd say Jasmine has like the best chance in her division relative to like better than Zahabi, Mallet, Malott, whatever.
Godinez is number 11
and Helliger, Horth. Like, yeah, Jasmine. Who else is Canadian in the UFC?
Godinez. That's what I personally can think of.
Katona.
Yeah, there's not much.
Help us out. But I would say Jasmine is probably the best Canadian right now.
Yeah, but in terms of like most highest chance of having a belt, yeah, I'd say that.
Yeah. I'm not saying she's going to win a belt. I'm saying she could find herself in like the top 5 to 7, where all those other people I don't think could. Moreno and Albazi, what do you think here? Pretty random fight.
Moreno seems to be having like a mental fucking breakdown. He just seems to like, ever since the KKF rematch, we just kind of fought like weird outside kicky for no apparent reason. Because like, yeah, Moreno isn't that great a fighter, but he has absolutely insane physicality. And he decides to become like an outside striker, which was an interesting decision. I think Moreno should be favoured since he's won better guys, and like Moreno's hardware is so insane, and Albazi did gas against KKF. But I'm struggling to have an opinion because I just feel like Moreno is kind of a question mark right now. And even Albazi, it's just like, all right, you've beaten KKF, which, I mean, you've beaten KKF. Like, that was a very controversial decision.
Yeah.
And the rest of your strength of schedule is pretty shit. Like, I don't really feel super confident in Albazi, and I don't really feel super confident in Moreno anymore. I have to just pass.
Yeah, I think I'm going to pass. I do think, if there's probably line value, it, is probably Moreno, because I just think he's a lot better. But, he
seems mentally cooked. He just does it. And also I just feel like Albazi, what he does could reduce this really shitty split decision.
I will say though, the quality of competition, he's Moreno's fought Royval, Fig, KKF, Fig, Pantoja, Royval. He's fought that's a pretty insane, and he has outlanded almost all those guys, So and Albazi, it's he's Malcolm Gordon, Zumagulov. The bad Figueiredo, Costa, and then KKF in a fight. He hasn't the KKF. He should have lost that fight. He got outplayed in 99-43. If they would have just given KKF a 49-46, which was probably a better card, this line would be wider, and we would say who has Albazi beaten? Just from a macro perspective, if you look at the quality of competition, and then if you just think about the fight, it's where's Albazi better? I think the best argument for Albazi is just Moreno's an idiot and will sometimes not do enough. But it's not like Albazi. Albazi's not like a Royval, where if Moreno's being retarded on the outside doing nothing, Royval was just landing meaningless stuff that didn't really do anything but trick the judges a little bit. But Albazi doesn't really do that. So it's where does he take advantage of him? I could see him getting a takedown or something here, but again, I don't think he's some elite grappler either, and Moreno's a pretty good grappler himself. So Moreno's too big of an idiot. I was thinking about it at -150, and now that it's kind of come out, I'm I'll probably just pass. But I do think Moreno should have him covered, and I also just feel from a macro perspective, what has Albazi done? He got an undeserved win against KKF, and then he's beaten some pretty mid-level competition. I don't even know if some of those guys are in the UFC anymore.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do feel the way that Albazi strikes, where just he's happy to just not do that much in space, could very easily produce just an awful split decision.
Yeah.
Because Moreno's also Moreno just seems to sometimes decide that he's going to be a technical outside kickboxer, and it's just the thing you're good at is just taking insane punishment and having an insane cardio and chin and that kind of stuff, and just push the fight on people kind of a thing. And he'll decide to just have this shitty outside body kicking kind of fight. And
yeah,
I think if he gives Albazi that, Albazi could win it. It's not going to be, guns to my head, Moreno, because I think he has all the real upside, but he just seems to be a bit mentally fucked. There's something about him which just seems off.
Yeah, I do think just Albazi doesn't have much of a ceiling here, which is the issue. If he ran away with the fight, I'd be shocked. Where if Moreno just dominated, I wouldn't be surprised. Or a finish where Albazi can finish Moreno. That would be pretty shocking.
Moreno's durability is insane. And Albazi, if Moreno just actually rocks up and pushed the high pace and then just melts them in round 3 or something, it's just all right, good on Moreno, back to looking his best.
Albazi's going to have to probably win a very close fight where they both are kind of doing nothing. Blanchfield and Rose, what do you think here? It's a 5-round fight, correct?
It is a 5-rounder. It's a weird one. I know, I think I hate Rose's style to a large degree. I think it's just low margin fighter kind of thing. It just annoys me. Blanchfield should be able to ask the right questions of her, but has no striking. Like, I think the line's fine. I'm actually kind of tempted the under and like Blanchfield's submission, because I feel like Blanchfield is so very, very, very hittable. And like, I don't think Rose has the physicality or the cardio of Fiora to just keep throwing her off. But I think, Blanchfield's probably going to struggle round one. I don't know. I think like live bet, Blanchfield bet after one, probably a good entry. Just competitive.
I think it will. I mean, it's probably going to be a competitive fight. But I picked Rose. I just feel like I don't know. Like Blanchfield's wrestling isn't all that great, and Rose has kind of showed that she's like become a pretty good grappler. And I don't know if like Blanchfield can easily land takedowns here, and then like on the feet, I think Rose is probably a little better, especially early. But Blanchfield does push a good pace and everything. But I don't know. I just feel like Rose is also just like her cardio has looked better in like recent fights, like she's fought 5 rounds better. And I feel like a lot of her like fights are kind of aging well. Like the fact that she, outlasted Zhang in that 5-rounder. And it's like the Carla fight was just kind of an outlier. I don't really put much stock into that. And she looked good against Cortez. Ribas has like a better pace, I feel, than almost like I feel like Ribas can present almost more problems than Blanchfield, but
yeah, but if Ribas like has a bit more urgency to get up, or like has any more get ups whatsoever, she probably beats Rose kind of
I
thing.
Think she's like a better defensive grappler than like a better get up game than a lot of I think it's gonna be close though. But I think the reason I'm picking Rose is I feel like a large chunk of the fight will play out on the feet where I just like Rose a little more. But again, like you can't. It's probably hard. It'll probably be competitive, but I'm going to pick Rose just because I feel like Blanchfield won't dominate on the mat, and I like Rose a little better as a striker, But it's really close, and Blanchfield does have a good pace. Like I do think in 5-round fights she'll do a little better.
I mean, I agree, but also I feel like if anybody's like running away with the fight, it's probably going to be Blanchfield.
Yeah,
because I feel like if her grappling just keeps building.
Yeah.
She can probably just, again, like Rose, unless Rose is KOing her as like KO one. Even like Cortez, it was kind of a weird fight because like apart from that round 3 where she just absolutely destroys her on the mat, like the striking wasn't uncompetitive against Cortez once Rose slowed down a little bit.
Yeah,
like if Cortez didn't get annihilated in round 3 on the mat and give like Rose a bunch of time to get cardio back, like, but that's a very close fight. Like again, it's like the credit to Rose for destroying Cortez like that on the map, but like it was quite surprising in context.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get a close fight here. I do like plus money that like I don't know, like I'm not in. I feel like Blanchfield minus 130 can be a bit of a trap. Like I don't have that much confidence that she wins this fight. What 50? What is that? Like 55% of the time? I'm not very confident in that. Or like.
I just think her style has a higher ceiling. That's my thing. I like the unders because I feel it's going to be fairly binary. Rose hits very hard. Blanchfield has the striking defense for building, and I don't like Rose when she's actually grounded. I feel like her defense when she's actually flat is quite poor. Like even like Rebus got like one good position on her and almost there, and Rose looked like she was like about to die kind of thing.
Yeah, the props are interesting in that fight. But Denise and Lewis, I feel like it's I know you have to go each matchup and doing like broad strokes is kind of dumb, but I feel like just playing against Lewis when he's an underdog is just a very scary thing to do. But I do like Denise's striking, but I do feel like Lewis could fat man grapple him a little bit. And like if Lewis gets on top of him, he could just kill him, Like we saw Lane get on top of him, but like Denise for being very inexperienced in MMA, he has decent like athletic instincts with some of his like takedown defense. But if Lewis gets on top of him, I am worried. And just seeing how Lewis kind of fought well against Nascimento, I could just see shit going. But if they're out in distance, like I think Denise can knock him the fuck out. Like he's a more technical striker for sure. But Lewis is just kind of tough to like. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, Austin Lane did get on top of Denise, which is always going to be a concern. But yeah, Denise seems to have some good ideas. He works leg kicks, which is worthwhile. Yeah, gun to my head, Lewis, but I I'm happy. Like, I have no interest in really getting on board either way here.
It's a scary one. Yeah, I'm not wearing a hat today.
Very unusual. Machado versus Rivero.
I usually do. I feel.
That's gonna be fireworks.
Machado Rivera. I haven't looked into it. Talk about it.
Machado, good exister. I think like Rivero is a lot faster and hits a lot harder kind of thing. So he could just take his head off inside round one. Particularly like guys going from heavyweight to light heavyweight just always strikes me as just like a bad idea. It's just like there's one of these things with just like the history of MMA. It just feels like every time somebody goes from heavyweight to light heavyweight, they just look very slow and very shit. Yeah, I think like Rivero KO1 like plus 1,000, plus 1,100 is a huge price. I wouldn't really touch the fight apart from that. Maybe Machado live because Rivero is kind of a flake and quits and is a bit mid. And like, but yeah, I think Machado moneyline favorite's fine because his cardio is a lot better. Yeah, it should be a fun fight. It should be a fun fight, but I think just take a punt Rivero round one. Like Rivero almost beats what's his name that Budget Ankaliev.
Yeah. I haven't really looked in the fight. I remember not being impressed by either guy. Like I know who they are, but I'm just saying I don't like. Yeah.
Machado gave what's his name Parkin a lot of issues. That was quite impressive.
Right. Yeah. What are anyone in the comments if there's a fight you want us to talk about? I got in on Jasmine early. When she was like minus like one. Did you get on her too?
Yeah, Jasmine is under.
She was sitting around like minus like 150 to 70 for like a week, and I hit that pretty hard. I still almost think like agreed with the under too. I agree with that.
Yeah, very binary.
Lipsky unders were hitting forever, and then like I feel like she's had a couple that haven't, and
even when they don't, like she hits very hard for a woman. She has no grappling, and it's just like. Yeah. You've got to take the plus 200 under.
And Jasmine is like, I feel like she's going to be a better finisher than people think. Like she got one, but I feel like she can just overwhelm people. That's why, but
I think also Lipsky knocking her out is not implausible. Like, Lipsky KO1 is like plus 2,000 some places. Like Lipsky hits very hard for a woman.
Oh, she can do it. I do think she definitely hits hard. I do think Jasmine's tougher than the average woman too.
I agree, but like, there is an off button somewhere.
Agreed. But I think Jasmine, the problem is like one takedown and it's like the round or the fight, and that's kind of the problem. And I trust her takedowns much more than like Casey O'Neill and some of these other girls.
I'm not advocating for Lipsky money line. No, I'm just saying like if I was going to play a KO1 plus 2,000, it's just like you get most of the upside.
I'm just talking about like the money line right now. Like I still think there's maybe value around like minus 200 to 210. Like Montana De La Rosa was like minus 260. Yeah, and I feel like Jasmine is probably better.
Yeah, equivalent.
Yeah,
that'd be a fun fight. Jordan Henry's.
Yeah,
sorry.
That would be
Jordan Henry's interesting. I think Jordan, like I've always wondered why Jordan hasn't gone down to bantamweight till now. But he's like one of these guys where it's like he's kind of survived being a small featherweight on like being very pacey and fast and having the cardio kind of and durability kind of thing. So him going down to other like bantamweight seems like a interesting decision. But also like Henry's like 5,000 years old, which seems like I kind of think Henry's a better version of the same archetype, but I also think that Henry's 5,000 years old.
This could be fight of the night right here. Like Henry brings up
under is huge. It's like plus 250 or something.
Yeah. They're both like durable, or I think Henry's like never been knocked out or finished in general. Jourdain's only been knocked out once in his last fight, but Jourdain gets hurt a lot. Like he's been hurt a lot. Like Henry has insane durability. I picked Henry there, but the fact that it's favored to go to the cards and it's in Canada kind of scares me for Jordan. If it wasn't in Canada, I'd probably play Henry at plus money, but I think he just has more volume upside. But I also feel like Jourdain's kind of looked like
he's been off for a bit.
He's been off, hasn't he? Like I just feel like I feel like he used to push a crazy pace and would go forward. And I know like Gene Silva's tough, but even against Woodson, he looked just scared. Woodson's kind of tough to deal with the height and everything. But
like
those aren't easy matchups. But I feel like he also underperformed in both of them.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I had Woodson against him, and like I thought that was going to be a lot harder for Woodson and it's like one of these situations where Jordan was kind of sitting on the outside and losing, and it was just like if Jordan's going to win this anyway, he has to go forward and he has to like bomb the leg kicks. And he has to like actually get into Woodson's range kind of thing. Jordan just looks very content to just lose outside because he seems to have lost some level of confidence. Like, obviously, it's not really it's hard to say just like objectively, but something about Jordan just seems like he no longer has the same raw aggression that like made him such a good underdog coming up kind of thing. Like, I don't think Jordan's ever been that good, but at least he used to really push it. Like, he maximized his chances. Now it just feels like, and he's been wrestling randomly as well, which is just like bizarre. Like, he just seems to have tried to become a bit more technical, which is just like it's not what you do, man. Maybe that works better at bantamweight, but like I'd be very skeptical if he wrestled Henry. Like Henry's got very good takedown defense, and like I could still see Jordan also. Like if he actually goes down to guys like of his own size, maybe he loses that durability and cardio a bit. Because like he's had it because he's been up because he hasn't been cutting weight, and it's like
Hold on. Sorry. Yeah, I think it's I picked. I went with the volume upside on Henry, but I do think like the Canadian scorecard scared me for sure.
I'm pretty much I'm gonna lay Jordan. I'm going to fade Jordan decision, and Jordan's going to win a 29-28 split decision with 4 knockdowns. Like, I know what's going to happen. People are going to die. Romanov, Nascimento, I think that's fun. It's interesting. I took a little bit of the plus Romanov because I feel like he can get on top, at least early. But I can also see that Nascimento kind of running him down low. I just think
You know what performance surprised? I was talking about this with someone else. You know what performance on Romanov really surprised me? The one against Ivanov, where he just I felt like he's a guy who has to get on top and like dominate, and if he faces like a close fight, he'll just like wilt. Yeah. But he won like a outside striking fight, and he Holloway's not the best on the feet, but if you would have told me they would have struck for 15 minutes, I would have been surprised that Romanov outlanded him 74-44. But I don't care too much about that fight.
It did feel like Ivanov was a little bit like just a bit flat, though. Yeah, he
looked real bad.
Yeah, so like again, how much of it was like, credit to Romanov for keeping control of the pace and not exploding himself. Like again, like it was an intelligent performance from Romanov, but also it's like how much can you really put into it when it's like Ivanov just looked like a absolute sack of shit.
This is a funny fight, Romanov and Nascimento.
Yeah, I mean, I've Romanov's decisions quite live.
Nascimento should just go after him. He should go after him, like just like he did against Mays. Like just keep going forward, and just if you don't get finished, you'll probably tire him out. Just go after him,
I don't think Romanov's finishing Nascimento on the mat. Like I think Nascimento's get ups are bad, but I think he's get be fine to survive kind of thing. So like, I think, my gut feels like Romanov hits like 2 takedowns and turns into like an ugly 29-28 kind of thing. But I think it will actually be a good fight. Like weird heavyweight, ugly, stupid way.
Yeah, it's a fun heavyweight fight. Zalal Shore, I picked Zalal. His lack of offense always makes me a little nervous. I will say Shore looked. Shore was my boy for a while, but like his lack of physicality against Simone really showed, and I also feel like same thing against Figueiredo. I think Zalal's a little better defensively on the feet, and probably hits a little harder, like and those like leg kicks too. I think he's a little more physical than Shore, but Shore's still a pretty good fighter. We've seen Zalal give up takedowns before, but I do feel like Zalal. I picked him overall to win, but I don't know. What do you think?
I kind of like Shaw because I feel like it's a little bit wide and it's a little bit disrespectful. Like it's one of these fights where like 2 years ago, if this is booked, what's the line?
Agreed, but
minus 500 Shaw. So again, I'm not saying that's the correct line. I'm just like it's funny like when you get these fights and it's just like you look at them and you're like, if this was booked like a peak, like if fighter A was at his peak of his like vibe and fighter B was at the bottom of his vibe, like there's one a couple weeks ago. Remember like Roberts versus Klein, and I was just like Roosevelt Roberts would have been like minus 400 against Klein like in recent memory, and then he was like plus 900. I was just like it's funny how like the MMA market does this so much, and I'm not saying it was like an accurate line, but like it's just kind of ironic.
Yeah,
I just think Shaw's good process. Like, Zalal has a very weird process if he's not just back taking you. Like, he's one of these guys who's also like hard to beat, but he's not necessarily a guy they ever back at like big favoritism. I think Shaw gives him I think Shaw runs him close. I think Shaw's a bit wide and good process, good fighter. I can't really see, like, apart from Zalal just like head kicking him or something, I don't really see how Zalal covers like confidence. His style is just
I think he could do like a leg kicky game. Like
he could, but like minus for 250 or something, whatever. Like,
and Brito landed a lot of good like calf kicks, and we've seen Zalal do that. But like, no, I'm not saying Zalal minus 250, but I did pick Zalal to win.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm not saying Zalal was like a dog or anything, but just I think this is close.
It's the first fight on the card, which is like that's a pretty high level fight for like think of like some of the first fights on the card we've gotten. Like Shore and Zalal. That could be like what's on the main card. It's better than Machado Ribeiro. It's better than like Ariel Stoltzfus, I think.
I feel like just the UFC
is pound for pound way better fighters than Stoltzfus and Barrios.
No, 100%.
Yeah. Munoz and Zahabi's funny too.
I was about to say that actually. I was actually about to bring that one up.
I went back and forth on that one. But it is funny because Zahabi was just like plus 600 against Basharat, and now I think he's a favorite now. This is, I will say, like from a macro perspective, this is a huge step down in competition for Munoz. Like I'm not saying he's going to win, but Aldo, Cruz, O'Malley, Gutierrez, who he beat. And then Vera and Phillips, and now Zahabi, like it's a pretty big step down. But Munoz is very hittable though, which I hate. Like I feel like Zahabi's better defensively, which could carry him to a win. But Munoz could just win on enthusiasm. Like he will actually go forward and try to do stuff. But I do feel like Zahabi's a more technical.
Will he? I feel like Munoz has lost some of his enthusiasm lately. Again, Carla almost killed him, so that might be why he got scared off. But watching the two, Carla's Font fight versus the Munoz fight was kind of I think Munoz just seems to have lost. Again, he's still
Phillips is too athletic for him.
Yeah, but then you watch him against Font, and Font makes him work for fucking 3 minutes, and then Carla's like, "Oh, I'm done, goodbye." Font Phillips was a disgrace. The Carla should feel terrible. That was awful. That was genuinely what the fuck, man. You had
I hate watching Zahabi fight. I don't hate him as a person, but I hate that that all those TriStar guys do that low volume technicality type of slow the fight down style, and I just don't enjoy watching it. They're fine fighters. They're all technically good, but I also feel they're never going to run away with fights either, and I don't know. But
I think Munoz dog is probably beside because I've heard Munoz has all the real upside. I'd be very surprised Zahabi killed him, even though Munoz is so hittable, and Zahabi's not exactly durable or likes working hard himself. But I just have this gut feel that it's going to go to a very awful 40 to 50, 35 strike split decision. Canadian's going to win it.
That's it's heavily favored to go to the cards. It's in Canada. I also do think Zahabi, he was a little more aggressive against Basharat when Basharat, he kept countering Basharat. And I do feel like Zahabi will throw more when he's given the opportunity to counter. And you just stay on the outside like Munoz was doing against O'Malley with just doing leg kicks. I feel like that's what you should do. But I have to roll, so I'm going to cut it short. But we'll come on next week. And I think it's the MSG. Oh, no, Magny Prates. And then we have Jones, Stipe in mid-November. So thanks, everyone, for tuning in.
Oh, good. Catch, man.
Bye.